Okay, this is just a very quick overview of a Claude project that I have set up specifically to generate content. So it's a content or an article generator. It researches the articles, it generates them, writes them, and then professionally formats them. And it does it all in one prompt. So I'm an old school blogger, and I still have blogs around from ages ago. And this is just one of them where I migrated from a personal finance blog that I was running, sort of had been up for a few years. Now I'm using Claude to then generate the content. Obviously, I look at it and edit it. But it's doing the first batch of researching and writing and formatting. Okay, so I'm going to just run through this project very quickly. I'm inside the project's interface or the project's window of Claude. It's really for personal finance articles. It generates them. Here is an example of one. Let's just scroll down to the bottom. And you can see it's all very nicely formatted. It has a little table of contents. You can click on it. I'll show you that once it's working. It's got blocks. It's got really easy to understand chunks of information. And it works off a series of context files which guide the research and the sort of writing of the content, and then it has a template. So this is a template that then pours the results, the content into it, and then the final thing that it has is a quality assurance component. So I'll show you quickly how these work. First, I'm just going to scroll down to the files that we use. So this is really the context. So if you hear about context engineering, a context system which I've built up. This one is specifically for my personal finance blog, and it has various components to it which get pulled into the Claude process when it's starting to generate again. So I've got cultural context for South Africa. These could be as long as you want them to be. I mean, this is really, I did this as an experiment to learn how to do stuff, but it's very useful to see how you could be structuring this. I mean, you could do it for education, for any types of other topics as well. It has a little glossary. These are the words I wanted to use. Typical fee ranges, SEO keywords, consumer protection, quick reference. I put information around things specific to the South African environment, and then scams that are common in South Africa, financial scams. So this is the context that it uses whenever it generates a new article. It then follows this very detailed set of instructions, and this is really quite a long prompt. It tells it what it is and what it's doing. It's creating personal finance articles for South Africans with low financial literacy. It gives the target audience and then the required tools. I'm getting it to do a web search, getting it to fetch content from that web search. I'm getting it to then generate an HTML file. So that structured file I showed you was an HTML file. And then I've given it a step-by-step process. I wanted to identify the date, so it looks for fresh or the latest information. I wanted to work with the context files. I wanted to then search, collect information, and then I wanted to bring that information together and use that as the context for generating the article. And the article, I mean, they all follow a very similar sort of structure. And this is really a structure I'd followed, before AI. I'm now just putting it into an AI format, and this is then the big or useful differentiation, I think, in terms of how to do some of this stuff. Have given it a template, HTML template with styling on what I wanted to then format the output as. So I think this is really useful. It's creating HTML files for me. I'm not going to have to do any formatting to them. It's allowing me to copy and paste the HTML into my blog, where I can then just edit and update as needed. And then the final thing which I really like is this quality assurance checklist. So it runs through everything, it checks that the data is correct, it checks that the sort of costs are correct. I've included scam warnings where they're relevant, puts in SEO meta tags, looks at the local context, disclaimer. So all the stuff that I would need to check manually, it does that automatically. And then some guidance on what happens if anything fails. So very, very detailed prompt, basically telling it exactly what to do. This is where I almost think it begins to be a bit agentic, in the sense that I'll show you what it does. You can get it to then follow steps and do work without you needing to be that human in the loop until the very end of the process. Okay, so I'm just going to maybe think of a topic. So budgeting for January. And I know there's a spelling mistake there, but I never really worry with that. And now you'll see what it's doing is it's taking that keyword or that title, and then it's doing what I've asked it to do. It's following the steps. So it's doing a search first. It's identified the current date. It's pulling in information from across the internet. So it's education.gov, News 24. It's a big website in South Africa. Basically doing its online research as the first part of what it does. And then scraping, copying information from those websites. So it's done this research component first. And now it's going to use that to then create the article. At the same time, it will be formatting the HTML file as well. It's reading the guidelines. These are the context files that I gave it. So I think the more detailed you are with these context files, the less editing you'd have to do, and the more specific and targeted to your needs it's going to be. So it works through those context files, and now it's creating a lovely HTML page for me. And then this is the article it's creating, and it's creating it in the HTML template, which I've requested as part of the system prompt, or not the project instructions. There it is, my table of contents. All research from the latest online content. I could be providing more information as well. Obviously, I could upload a document or something as well if I wanted it to reference that at the same time. This is the little bit that takes the longest out of this process, because it's actually writing or generating as well as formatting at the same time. For anyone who has done HTML markup before, you can see how neat and well structured it is. There's no issues, obviously, with the structuring of that at all. It's giving me the sections, adding some comments into it as well. Could be, this for me feels like a very useful structure and approach to then be able to do a similar thing for any type of content. So if it's educational content, you could work off a curriculum doc, for example, which would actually make it almost easier, more structured. If you are doing any sort of more informational type thing, it allows you to then also bring in your context docs and your sort of ways of presenting content that your industry or your organization may expect you to do. So if you have these templates, if you have certain criteria for it to check against, it makes it a lot easier to generate this type of content. When this isn't overly creative, we're not reinventing the wheel or anything like that. It really is just pulling together content from online, working with all my context docs and then my sort of detailed prompt to create something new. Yeah, it's still going. It's quite a long article. Obviously, January budgeting is not fun at all. Okay, it should hopefully be getting towards the end. Let's put some scam warnings in, which is another thing that I've asked it to do. I mean, I think for me, the sort of key takeaway is that we've built an evaluation into the actual project instructions. So it's doing this quality assurance, it's checking everything, which means I just need to then run my eyes over it, check if anything is looking a bit suspect, and then obviously double check any of the sort of facts or figures or websites or things like that. Okay, it's adding in the contact details. These are contact details that I provided, again, in the context information, so it's been vetted by me, and it's just copying and pasting them in. Should be coming to the end right about now. I just want to show you the final article, formatted article. Okay. Here we go. Final recommendations. And then this is then it's added in some styling as well. So some responsive styling. There's my little guide to budgeting for January. Let's put the wrong date there, so I'd have to go back and check that. It should be January 2026. Information on what we should be budgeting for, back to school costs, how to cut your expenses, your debit orders, any scam warnings, little blocks with information. All in all, a very neat article. And then I can just take the HTML, copy this out into my website, edit it on the website, click publish if I'm happy with it, if I've made any changes I need to do, and then we're good to go. This is probably not something I would continue for much longer, because I am moving away from this interface of Claude and then into Claude Code, where you've got a lot more control over how you can run things like this. You can connect to MCPs, I found much easier. So potentially actually pulling in information for research, much easier, but then also being able to almost manage a website or publish directly online via some MCP server. And so I'll be looking a little bit more into how we can take this concept and take this process and translate it into Claude Code in upcoming videos.